Welcome to the next episode of Champion Chat. So today's awesome guest is Elijah. So we'll let Elijah introduce where he's got to and what he does, basically.
Yeah, hey guys. Nice to chat with you all. Great to thank you to Sean for having me on as a guest. And yeah, really looking forward to getting into this interview and answering some of the questions that you got.
So first off, what got you into the sport that we do?
So to start off with, for me, as most kids did at the time, I was always watching Ninja Turtles and Power Rangers on the television, and that was the main thing that really made me want to start martial arts. When I was watching them do all the cool moves and stuff like that, you know, I always wanted to learn all of that stuff. And I remember one day a letter came through our letterbox, and it was advertising Lee Matthews Black Belt Academy at the time, which was a local school that I'm still with now as well. And my mum and dad took me down for an introductory class, and then after that I never looked back. You know, I pretty much just fell in love with it straight away. At the time I was doing the Little Ninjas program, you know, I was learning all the cool kicks, and I absolutely loved it. So yeah, it was I'm very lucky I managed to find my passion at such an early age. But as for what got me going, it was Ninja Turtles and Power Rangers, and without them, God knows where I'd be now.
Can you still name the Ninja Turtles though?
We got Leonardo, Michelangelo, Raphael, Donatello.
It's pretty impressive.
Yeah, my favourite was always Raphael when I was younger. I don't know why, just funny.
Which one had the nunchucks? I can't remember.
That's Michelangelo. He was good as well. He was good. He had the orange bands. My favourite was always Raphael, who had the red band. But yeah, they were awesome.
You need like a special band for fighting then. Just a red one.
Yeah, that'd be ace.
What do you think is your biggest achievement so far?
I think that's probably an easy one. That would be the Irish Open open weight that I won this year. I think, you know, that's the biggest one by far. I won the US Open weight as well, which was a big one in terms of getting out to the States and winning on the States, because, you know, that's another challenge, a completely different challenge. But, you know, as for the biggest tournament to win on paper, it's the Irish Open, 100%. And to win the Grand Champion's always been, you know, something that I wanted to achieve since I first started competing in the sport. You know, seeing all of the different legends competing for that title, and to think now that I'm one of those people that was on that stage and going for that title, and to think that I actually won it as well. It was just incredible. And yeah, by far that's my biggest title. I've got some other ones that I'm really proud of as well, but yeah, I have to say Irish Open Grand Champion 100% is my biggest achievement, biggest victory.
It's pretty incredible, because a few years ago, didn't you win 3 golds at the Worlds or Euros?
Yeah,
so
yeah, so when I was it was my last year as a junior, and I won the point fighting, the light contact and the kick light, and also we won the team event as well as GB. So I ended up coming away with 4 golds, and obviously with that I got awarded the best male tatami fighter of that tournament as well. So that was another thing that was massive for me at the time, because that was another goal that I set for myself. I wanted to prove to people that you don't just have to specialize in one style or just fight only one style. I've always been open-minded in my approach, that, you know, if you can conquer one discipline, you can do all of them. And as a martial artist, that's always my goal, is not just to be the best in one area, but in multiple areas. And that's something that I always wanted to do. I did I've always done points and light contact together ever since I started competing. The kick light was a little bit new to me, and it took me some time to adapt, obviously, to the leg kicks, being able to defend them, being able to throw them, link them in with combinations and stuff. So that was a new challenge. And yeah, it was something that I was really, really happy to do. I'm still proud of to this day as well, the fact that I managed. I think the hardest thing about that was just the intensity of it all, because people don't realise you're fighting 3 rounds in every division. So you're doing a 3 2-minute round point fight on one day.
Yeah.
You're doing a light contact fight on the same day, which is 3 rounds. You're doing a kick light fight on that day, which is 3 rounds. And over the course of a week, that really takes its toll. And by the time that the final comes round, you're absolutely battered and bruised and exhausted, and mentally drained. So, to be able to keep your concentration throughout the whole week, stay focused on the goal, and just work through those little injuries, those little niggles that you get throughout the fights, and just keep, pushing through. It's not only an achievement from a physical standpoint, but just I think more so from a mental one, being able to overcome those challenges.
But we're still sticking with the Irish Open as your biggest achievement.
100%. I mean, because that title is the one to win for any point fighter. If you're a point fighter, I think your main goal is to win that. That is like the Super Bowl of our sport. It's absolutely massive. So, and like I said, from when I was a kid and watching all of these top competitors fight for that title, it's just amazing to think that now I'm in that same situation and I'm pushing to fight for that title, and to actually win it is just amazing. So got to stick with that one. But yeah, also very proud of what I did as a junior, but winning that as an adult has to be the highlight for me.
So if you could relive one specific moment in your journey, what would it be? So you obviously said that the Irish Open is your biggest achievement, but would that be the moment you would relive, or would you relive a different moment?
Do you know what? It would be that moment, and I'll tell you a little story actually about what happened. And I would relive the Irish Open moment. One, because obviously when I won it, it was absolutely incredible feeling. I mean, I don't know if you watched the fight or anything, but after I won that fight, I broke down into tears. I was so emotional because it was just a long ride, and and a long journey. I made so many sacrifices throughout my sporting career, and not only me but also my family. I know how much it meant to them, because they've always sacrificed for me, to achieve things like that, because that was just such a massive goal. So I'd love to relive that moment, but if I could go back in time and also change something, I would have liked to have enjoyed the moment a little bit more, because actually not many people know, but once I won the tournament, I got taken to anti-doping tests. So, and this is normal for all of the athletes. The females, the males, all have to do it. Well, I think it's the top 4 guys have to go and do a doping test. So I'm sat in the room, and this is normal to me because I've done it many times before. And the guys obviously waiting for me to provide a sample, and I was so dehydrated after all of the fighting throughout the whole weekend, and I was just absolutely drained. So obviously it was taking forever. And in the room they've got bottles of water and everything on the side, and they're just like, help yourself, drink as many bottles of water until you can go. And I'm sat there with Jack Felton, who's my teammate as well, and he manages to get out there pretty quick, and I'm still stuck in there with my dad, and we're just like, everyone's getting impatient. This is like 11 o'clock at night, and obviously they want to go home as well. They want to get back home and go to bed. Taking one bottle after another and necking one, taking one bottle after another, necking one. And eventually I just start to feel like the worst I've ever felt. Like I've got like a pounding headache. I feel sick. And I actually got to the point where I provided the sample, but then when I go back and I'm trying to fill in all of my details and write down my address and stuff, I don't actually have the strength to do it. I was an absolute mess. I couldn't even write my name down. It was that bad, and I ended up just lying down on the floor. And I thought, what is happening to me? I had no idea what was going on. I just had this sudden feeling of just feeling terrible. And my dad had to fill out all my details for me and stuff. And then within seconds of the guys leaving the room, I just remember just projectile vomiting everywhere, and I didn't know what was happening, why I was doing it, but I just couldn't stop, and I couldn't even walk. So my dad walked me back to the hotel, and we get back to the hotel, and I'm just like ready to just pass out on the bed. But obviously, because of my pounding headache, I couldn't sleep. You know, I couldn't do anything. I couldn't talk. I couldn't call anybody, or I was just an absolute wreck. So obviously my dad comes in, and he's looking after me, and obviously my teammates are there as well, the All-Stars, and Raymond comes into the room, and Raymond's asking me like, what happened? And he actually told me that what I'd got was water poisoning, because I actually had too much water too quickly. So obviously ended up poisoning myself, and I didn't know that I was doing anything wrong at all at the time. You know, you just think water's good for you, drink as much as you want, but I actually overdid it, and I had way too much, way too fast, and that was the reason for my pounding headache and my projectile vomiting everywhere, and I couldn't do anything. So I really couldn't celebrate the moment as much as I wanted to, because I just felt absolutely terrible. From drinking too much water. I know it sounds silly, but I'd love to go back and actually just enjoy the moment a little bit more and celebrate the victory with my teammates, but I didn't get that chance. And actually that night I barely got any sleep. Woke up at about 4 or 5 in the morning, and same thing again, you know, just vomiting everywhere. And we called the ambulance in the end, and the ambulance came to get me, took me to the hospital. And then after a while, once I was treated at hospital, we realised we missed the flights home, because I was supposed to fly home that morning, so that was another thing. So then I had to book new flights and everything, and we came back later on that day. So it was a bit of a mess. So as soon as I won, it was just all downhill from there, basically. So yeah, that's the story. I'd love to go back. I've got to make sure that I do it again. I think that's the thing. I've got to make sure that I win again, and next time, you know, I'll be a little bit more careful with my water intake, and hopefully I get the chance to actually enjoy the moment next time and celebrate a little bit.
It's quite interesting that you say that, though, because everybody probably saw it as an amazing win, and that you went off and celebrated amazingly, but actually you had like the worst evening.
Yeah, it's like I ended up being carried by my dad back to the hotel. You know the City West, the hotel's there, and then you've got the sport venue there, and I just remember walking through the doors, just with my dad carrying me, and that's not how I wanted the evening to go. I would have really, you know, liked to enjoy myself a little bit and celebrate it, but that's not the way things happened, unfortunately. So I've got to make sure that I win that title again, and you know, I'll celebrate next time.
Next year, definitely.
Yeah, let's hope so. I'll be working hard for it.
Do you have a song that gets you focused or pumped? Like, because everyone's massive on Spotify, listening to music, all that sort of idea. So, yeah. Like previously, we've had Adele, JC had Bruce Springsteen, and Evelyn came out with some rubbish song. I can't even remember what it was. It's like, no way. We can do it if you really want to, I think. And it's like the world's worst song.
No way. I'd say for me, I really like Metallica. So I'd have to say One by Metallica. I think that's a great tune, and just listening to the guitar intro at the beginning always just gets me going. I always love that. So I'd have to say, if I was to have a tune that I'd listen to get ready and to get focused, it'd be One by Metallica.
It's pretty heavy as well, Metallica.
It is heavy, boys. That's a great. I think that's my favourite Metallica. I do like Metallica overall, but that's got to be my favourite Metallica track. Is One.
That's generically what your music taste is like heavy metal. Or you
I actually listen to all types of music. You know, I like my rock music. I like heavy. I like rap music. You know, a bit of everything, to be honest. I'm not really picky in that sense. You know, if it's a good song, it's a good song for me.
What do we have next? Oh, what's motivated you to carry on so far? So why like stayed motivated? Why have you never just gone, oh, too much and just given up?
Yeah, I think the key to staying motivated is always setting yourself new goals and new challenges. I think it's very easy to stay on, you know, a level focused path when you have goals that you want to achieve, that you're serious about achieving. So the key is just never to be satisfied and always strive for more. So, you know, whenever I win a title or, you know, I accomplish something that I want to achieve, it's good when it happens, but then you can't be just completely satisfied with it and think that's it. You know, you've got to set yourself a new goal. You have to keep yourself motivated. And that's the easiest way of doing it, is just to set yourself new goals. If I was to say to anyone, you know, what's the key to staying motivated, it's all about goal setting, finding something that you really, really, really want to achieve. And then if you want it bad enough, you'll make sure that you put in the work to achieve it. So I think the key is goal setting. Once you hit one milestone, then you're thinking about the next one. Then when you hit that, you're thinking about the next one. Then you're thinking about the next one. You never celebrate too much. You never stand still. It's always about the next thing, the next thing, the next thing. It keeps you hungry and it keeps you motivated. And that's how you just become more and more successful.
So mental health obviously plays a massive role in how you perform and what you do. So have you ever had days where you've like got up in the morning and thought, nah, I'm not doing this today, I can't do this? Or if you have, what have you done to pick yourself up?
I think, you know, everybody has days where they don't feel like it, whether it's you know, a mental thing or a physical thing. Maybe they've got like a little injury, or maybe their legs are aching or whatever. But you know, if you're truly passionate about what you do, then you don't look at it as a chore. It's not something that you have to do. It's something that you enjoy doing. And for me, that's how I've always felt about the sport, is that I'm truly passionate about it. So for me, to get up and do it, you know, that's not a chore. It's a choice. It's something that I love to do, you know. And also, if you don't want to do it, you can't always just act on how you feel, you know. You don't feel like going to school some days, but you go to school. You don't feel like going to work, but you go to work. If you take this sport that seriously on that level, like it's school or like it's a job, you know, then you'll do it. So you've got to understand that you can't always just act upon how you feel, and that if something needs to be done, you need to get it done. You've got to have the willpower and the strength to do that, and I think that's something that I've always had. But to me, like I said before, this is my passion. This is something that I really enjoy to do. So for me, I've never looked at it that way as, oh yeah, I have to do that later on, or, you know, I actually look forward to the chance to train.
Do you think you've sacrificed much to gain the success you have?
Absolutely.
You changed it previously to, have you made choices? Because some people said it's not a sacrifice because you gained something else out of it. Mm-hmm. So have you got like an example of something you sacrificed?
Of course. For me, it was always, you know, as a kid, I was extremely dedicated towards this sport, and I always put it first. You know, I had less time hanging around with my friends, less time on the Xbox, less time on the PlayStation, whatever, you know. And you always have to make this sport or whatever that you want to be good at, you have to make it your priority. And this was always my priority, is to be great at this sport. And that was always my number one goal. So, you know, I'd always put that first before anything else. If I had the opportunity, you know, to play football with my mates or something, and it didn't affect my kickboxing in any way, then of course, you know, I'd take the time and do that, because I enjoy that as well. But, you know, if it came between the two, then I wouldn't hesitate to choose kickboxing. So I was always extremely dedicated in that sense, that I would always put this sport first before anything else, because that was the most important thing to me. And I think the other thing is as well, is that it's not all just about your sacrifice, but you have to have people around you that are willing to sacrifice for you as well, which is a massive thing. I think if you don't have that person, whether it be a parent, whether it be a coach, whoever, you know, you need someone in your life that's guiding you along that path, and that's also willing to make sacrifices, take time out of their day or take time out of their lives to help you progress. And I'm very lucky that I had two amazing parents, and they're still doing that for me now, that you know, sacrificed absolutely everything in order for me to be successful in this sport. So Yes, you have to sacrifice 100%. If you want to get anywhere, you've got to sacrifice things, but you've also got to have people in your life that are willing to sacrifice for you, that can provide things that maybe you can't on your own. Obviously as a child, I wasn't able to drive a car, so that meant that my parents would have to drive me everywhere, or that I wasn't able to travel alone for a while, internationally. So until I was older, so that meant that my parents had to, take time out of their schedules to make sure that I was okay to travel with me, and then my dad as well. He's always been training with me when I never had any training partners. If I was just alone or something, my dad would always come and take me on the pads and ride his bike next to me when I'm running on the cold mornings and all of that stuff. So it's not just a massive sacrifice for yourself, but also you've got to have the people around you that are willing to sacrifice, take time out of their schedules for the benefit of you as well. And I'm just extremely lucky that I had that.
Do you think your parents pushed you a little bit as well? Like, do you think they helped you along your way a little bit, in the sense of like, no, come on, you got to do this, or you would have said, oh no, I'm going to go play football?
It never came down to that, because going back to what I said before, this was always my passion. This is always what I love to do, and my parents knew that this was what I wanted to do, and they helped me in the sense that they kept me on track and they made sure I was doing all the right things. But it was pretty much, it was easy for them in that sense, because this was always my passion. It was clear what I wanted to do. It was clear what my goals were, and they just helped me as much as I can to get to that point. So I would never say that they pushed me into it or anything like that. It was just more guided support and help whenever I needed it.
If you didn't do this sport, what do you think you would do instead?
Ooh, that's a good one. Well, are we talking combat sports? I mean, are we getting rid of combat sports, or
anything you like?
I think I'd probably do a different combat sport if I weren't doing points. And I've always been a big fan of Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. I'm doing that now as well. So I love Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. I'd imagine that I'd spend more time doing that. And also my boxing, I love to box. So, and when I was younger, I was boxing for a time. I was kickboxing and boxing at the same time. I'm still training it now as well. So I would have to say I'd probably do a different combat sport, because it just provides a certain buzz that I don't think you can get from anything else. It's you against another person. It's your mind against another mind, and I absolutely love that. So I think I'd definitely do a different combat sport, either boxing, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, even MMA, something along those lines.
Cool. And then if you could say one thing to the up-and-coming in the sport, what would you say to them? I
would say that I'd say you need to be willing to make the sacrifices necessary. Obviously, the younger generation, there's always going to be temptations there to, and like we talked about a minute ago, there'll be things there. There'll be days where you don't want to train, and there'll be days where your mates might ask you to come and play football, and it's between that or your training or whatever. But you've got to prioritize. You've got to think long term about what you want to achieve, and then you just have to have a relentless mindset and focus to get to where you want to be. Be passionate about what you do. Respect what you do. Honor your craft. Train as hard as you can. Stay focused. And just go out there and gain experience. That's the other thing as well, is that you don't want to just stay where you're comfortable. You've got to go out, compete as much as possible all over the world, fight against different people, give yourself different challenges, and set goals to keep yourself motivated.
And can you describe your career in 3 words?
Ooh, 3 words. I would say, for me, first of all, is always passionate. That would be my first word, is that you have to be passionate in what you do. I think obsessive. You have to be obsessive with it. You have to study. You have to take the time to train, to practice, to live it, to breathe it, and also being relentless. I like to think of myself as relentless in the fact that, you know, if I don't get it the first time, okay, well, I'll go back, train harder, and I'll come back the next time. You know, I'm relentless in the fact that regardless of how long it takes, or regardless of whatever I got to do, I'm going to make it happen.
So passionate, obsessive, and relentless.
Yeah.
Pretty good words. We've had some weird ones. Peaceful, respect, like all sorts of magical ones.
They're all great as well, and they all have their place. But for me, yeah, I think, you know, it starts off as a passion. You start off with what you enjoy doing, you know, and then obviously once you're passionate about something, you become obsessive about it. You want to get better, and then it's just a relentless mindset and a drive to get to where you want to get to.
Leading on from your kind of like relentless idea, when we've spoken to previous people, it's always been like they had a plan to win like a European or the World Championships, and like for instance, talking to Gemma, she was saying that she probably entered like 10 times but didn't get that first place until that 10th time. Mm-hmm. So is it a similar story, or have you always been reasonably successful coming all the way up?
I started the sport from a very early age, so I mean, I was competing when I was 7 years old, and to begin with, no, I wasn't winning consistently. You know, that's the thing, is it doesn't happen straight away for you, and that's why it's so important to go out and gain the experience. So you've got to be able to travel to all of these different places, to the tournaments, even different associations, you know, and just try and gain as much experience as you can. You'll go through wins, you'll go through losses, you'll go through ups, you'll go through downs. And to begin with, no, I wasn't winning. You know, it took time for me to learn, to adjust, to develop that experience. But then it just got to a certain point where everything started coming together. So yeah, you can't expect it all to happen straight away. You've got to be patient with it, but you've also got to be extremely hardworking as well.
Earlier you were talking about like winning the American competitions. What was the biggest like kind of like shocked you when you were fighting in the American competitions? What was the biggest like swap up?
Yeah. So in America, it's totally different, and you know, for anyone who's ever gone out to America and fought in the NASCAR rule set, you'll know exactly what I mean. First of all, they have 1 2-minute round. So every fight, regardless of whether it's a final or not, it's 1 2-minute round. So everything's like super quick, fast, explosive, which is how they fight in the States. And I think it's purely because of that reason, because they don't have a lot of time on the clock, so they just try and do as much as possible. Second thing is the 2-point body kick rule. So they have 2 points for a body kick, not just a head kick like we do in Wako, but any kick is 2 points over there. And if you put that in with the 1 2-minute round rule, obviously that massively benefits the kickers, because you know, they're basically getting double the points. And if you're a puncher, then you've got a lot less time to get those scores back. So you find that a lot of the guys in America, they love to kick, and I think that's what encourages them, is the 2-point body kick rule. So that was an adjustment that I had to make, being able to avoid the kicks and also to use my legs a little bit more and try and use that rule to my advantage. The areas are a little bit smaller as well. I think they're like, depending on what tournament you go to, they're like, I think the standard size is 6x6, which is, you know, 1x1 meter less than what we have in Europe, obviously being a 7x7. But yeah, you do feel the difference, and I think it's because of the fact that they are more aggressive as well. You know, they come flying at you as soon as the ref says fight. Yeah, as soon as the ref says fight, you know, they've got their leg up and they're pushing at you, and you know, you don't have a lot of time to think. And obviously, with that little bit of a difference in the size of the area, it does make a difference as well. There's no lead hand to the body, you know, which some people like the lead hand to the body, some people don't. My view on that is, you know, if it's in the rules, use it. If it's not, don't use it, because it's a waste of your time. So in America, obviously, we don't use that. But that's pretty much it. Also, one of the things that I didn't like about America was the fact that you can only fight one division. So you go out there and you can only fight your weight division and open weight. You can do open weight as well, but it's not like in Europe where we can fight up multiple divisions. Like for me, if I was fighting in minus 74, I couldn't do minus 74 and minus 79. I could only do my weight and open weight. So, you know, going over there and then only having one division and one round, you know, it's difficult. So you've got to make the most of it in the small time that you've got, basically.
Is that to keep the starts down so they don't have as many people fighting throughout the whole day?
I'm not sure what the reason is. I'm honestly not sure. I've heard different people say, you know, it's a time thing. You know, they don't want people doing, you know, spending too much time on each division or so.
Well, I suppose it stops that, like, oh, you got to wait over here because there's a fighter fighting over there that's here. So,
yeah. I think it's also to do with the way they do Grand Champion, because they do basically I mean, we call Grand Champion the open weight. Like the open weight is the Grand Champion here. Over there, they do so they have different weight classes. Say like 57, 63. Over there, it's like 139 pounds and 149 pounds. So you'd be in that bracket. So they're two separate divisions, but the winners of those divisions, they fight each other, right? Then you'll have the next ones up, which would be 159 and 169. So the winner of those two divisions, they'll fight each other, and then you'll have like an overall final, they call it, and it'll be like the super lightweight guys, which will be the winner of either 139 and 149 against the light/welterweight guys, which would be 159, 169. So they'll fight each other, and then there'll be an overall lightweight winner. And then they do the same thing for the heavyweights. Okay, so they have like multiple divisions, and then the winners fight each other, and that's how they do the Grand Champion over there. They have open weight as well, but their Grand Champion is slightly different. So I think that's another reason why they don't let people fight up, because obviously if a person was to win two divisions, yeah, maybe it would mess that up or something. But yeah, I'm not 100% sure. Yeah, I like the fact that they're doing open weights there now as well, which is great. But it would be nice to be able to go over there and then just fight more than one division as well.
We spoke about sponsorships with JC and how when they were Team SWAT, they had kind of like a help because they were sponsored by that Powerade or whatever it be, but it wasn't like a pay your way. Like with America being over there, is there more kind of like sponsorship in the sense of like they pay entries and stuff like that, or is it the same sort of thing, like just a name on your suit and you kind of
so actually in America you find that they have a lot more sponsorships. I think that's something that's different to Europe, because in Europe, you know, it's very similar to what you said there. You know, you'd have the brand on the suit, or you know, you'd have the equipment company brand and then your name or whatever on there, which is more common in Europe. There's a lot of teams that are doing that, but in the States there seems to be a lot more funding going on, more sponsorships, more sponsorship opportunities out there. Definitely, yeah, there is. If you look at some of the teams, you know, they bring out people from all over the world to be on their team. So yeah, just more incentive for them to come over.
If you could train anywhere in the world, where would you pick to train?
Like full time? Yeah. For me, it'd have to be over in California, I think, with Raymond and the guys. I think that's just where, when I went over there, I learned so much from them. I spent 8 weeks there, and for me, because I obviously enjoy doing all of the different styles as well, I'm not just doing points, but you know, I like to do the continuous. I like to box. I like to do a little bit of ring sports, that kind of thing. And you know, obviously Raymond's in that world as well, so he introduced me to all the guys out there, and I was doing some workouts with them, with like the full contact guys that he trains with and stuff. And then obviously for points fighting, there's no one in the world that's better than Raymond Daniels, more knowledgeable than him, you know, with what he's achieved and stuff. So I'd have to say, if I had to choose a place to train, that's definitely where it would be. And I noticed such a difference from when I first went out there to when I came back. I was like a different fighter. And it was actually after that I started to develop this streak of winning all the Grand Champions. You know, I came back I think it was late August of 2018, and then I won the Bristol open weight, and then I won the Wako Europeans, and then the following year after that was where I started going on my streak last year, and I ended up winning like 11 open weights. So I think it was just, you know, being around those kind of people, learning from not only their skills as martial artists, but just from their mindset, and it just gave me more and more confidence that I needed to reach the top level, and, you know, just transform me into just went to a different level after I came back from California.
We asked all the other fighters, we have to ask you, is there a name on the draw sheet that you see and you often go, oh, like, that one's going to be a pain in the ass, or that one's going to be a bit of a nightmare? No, never.
No. No. You know, I always think, like, on the bad draw, you know, I don't see a person and think, oh, I'm worried about fighting them. They should be worried about fighting me. That's the only way that I look at it. Now, of course, there's people that you have to be wary of, and you know, you have a certain level of respect for. But in terms of, I'm not worried about fighting them, absolutely not.
Awesome. I think that's kind of the end, unless you've got any more questions that you want to ask somebody else.
No, that's all good with me, mate. If you're all finished up, then that's great.
Thank you for coming on.